So the CMA have been brought into a meeting with Parliament. Members of other part of the UK government have decided to speak out against the CMA's actions. And let's be honest, the ABK deal has turned into a large political crap storm. Let's discuss it more. Earlier this week, the CMA sat down for what they thought was going to be an everyday run-of-the-mill meeting with the British Parliament. And they found out real quickly in the beginning of the meeting, it was not going to be so coy. The British Parliament wanted to know right away about the dealings of the CMA, how they blocked the Activision Blizzard deal between Xbox, and how it's essentially affecting the UK's international reputation for companies looking to invest in a country for both growth and also innovation. And the CMA has essentially created the concept that the UK economy is closed for business for companies with those ideals. The head member of Parliament that was present at the meeting asking the questions demanded very sternly that the CMA answer his question. He had to ask it twice, and they still beat around the bush. He wanted a yes or no answer, and he did not get it. But he wants to know how, if the CMA takes into consideration on how their actions in any regulatory decision could affect the international reputation of the UK. And the CMA decided to give a very convoluted and very beat around the bush answer. They must be taking lessons from Lena Khan over at the FTC, which he also decided to bring up. He wanted to discuss the dealings between the CMA and the FTC, and the CMA came out again saying, well, there wasn't exactly a waiver in place, so we weren't able to discuss things very much with the FTC. And that's when he's like, but you did have a conversation with the FTC. Well, yes. When? Well, we can't really speculate. What was discussed? We really can't speculate. And that's when he just sternly looks at the leading woman over at the CMA and says, hey, you're going to tell us what took place between you and the FTC, whether you like it or not. We can either do it right here in a public setting with the cameras rolling, or we can do it in a private setting without cameras and a lot of other members of Parliament sitting around. But you're going to have this conversation. What's your decision? And the woman from the CMA decided to go with, we're going to have private discussions, because obviously she was uncomfortable in disclosing any information at all when it came to the discussion between the FTC. And now we're also starting to see news reports popping up on the internet that the CMA is denying the fact that they're being used to enforce or block deals that the FTC can't, because the FTC doesn't look into the future. The FTC has to make regulatory decisions based on facts, where apparently the CMA is allowed to, gauge with a crystal ball. And not only do they get to use a crystal ball when it comes to regulating mergers, but they also apparently get to use very flawed math, which keeps being brought up, especially by Microsoft, and even members of cloud gaming are wanting to bring up the fact that somehow by the CMA's flawed logic of math, that apparently cloud gaming is this great big, waiting to pounce at any opportunity market. Apparently it's just waiting to explode. Nobody's just lit the fuse yet. And literally, we saw the woman from the EU completely say that this is a nascent, very small market that right now is in its infancy, and we need to see players like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon investing their time and money into helping grow this into a viable market. Yes, you have smaller competitors like GeForce NVIDIA and Boosteroid and all the other ones that have been named off. I mean, we've seen Microsoft sign all these cloud deals, and to be honest, they have all taken a big issue with the CMA's flawed math and logic. And it doesn't get any better for the CMA at this point, because we also have the Prime Minister of Britain coming out, making a statement on LinkedIn, of all places, a Microsoft-owned platform, but he chose there to make his statement. It reads as, I want to make it easy as possible for British businesses to thrive. To do what we need, a regulatory system in the UK that doesn't get in the way. It needs to allow companies to get on with doing what they do best, creating jobs and growing the economy. The British Prime Minister was not the only individual that wanted to throw some shade and heat towards the CMA's regulatory decision. British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt decided to throw some dialogue into the conversation as well. He has stated in saying one of the reasons that companies like Microsoft and Google want to invest in the UK is because we have independent regulators that aren't controlled by politicians. I would not want to undermine that at all, but I do think it's important all our regulators understand their wider responsibilities for economic growth. To really hammer home what Mr. Hunt was trying to say, I liked what Florian Mueller over on Foss Patents said on Twitter. The CMA does not compete with the EU Commission, but the UK does compete with the EU and other economies for investment and job creation. The CMA makes arbitrary decisions against the law and against the facts. Legal uncertainty is bad for business. And I can't really disagree with them. We have already saw Lulu Chang and other Activision executives talk about how they are going to move a lot of their plans for investment over in that part of the world to countries part of the EU because they no longer want to deal with the UK's overregulation of industries as a whole. We have also seen one of the crown jewels of the UK tech industry, ARM, decide to not invest in putting their stocks on the London Stock Exchange in favor of going to the United States Stock Exchange. It appears that a lot of companies are really not wanting to deal with the situation that the CMA has created, and that's what's really going to hurt the UK, because we obviously know that they broke off from the European Union. That's a whole discussion in itself, and I don't really want to go down that road. But the point is, at this point, the UK now competes with the EU for job growth and getting companies to invest over there and to bring dollars into the country and to create job growth so that way people can be employed and spend more dollars in the economy and also go to school and grow the economy. There is a lot of stuff that can be hatched as a positive thing from having this merger take place, but because of the CMA's stance on the merger, literally the cat's out of the bag. The secret has been told that the CMA is completely out of their minds and wanting to seriously overregulate any industry that they can. This brings me to where I really feel that the CMA got played really hard by Xbox. We all know that the UK takes pride in the fact that you can't really lobby or become political with the CMA. They are an independent group and they like to regulate without interference through politics. But this is where you can go down another road, and that is public perception. And it appears that the UK government is very reactionary to public perception and also negative coverage in the media. And that's where, at this point, I really do feel that Microsoft was playing a little bit of a game that we didn't understand until it was ready to be launched. And that was the plan B. We all remember when the news articles were coming out that there was posters up in train stations and subways to kind of garner public perception on how the ABK deal was a good thing. We even know they took out articles in newspapers, great big, center page news articles on like, hey, this is going to be great. Public perception is a big deal over there. And Microsoft this entire time, I think, has been using a little bit of manipulation and their money to create a political crap storm for the CMA. The CMA has been put in the hot seat. They probably did not see the game Microsoft was playing. I'm pretty sure that maybe that Microsoft got wind that there was probably some secret meetings taking place between the CMA and the FTC. So they started implementing processes to kind of already create what they knew what was going to take place to actually manipulate the situation. I hate using the word manipulate, but actually steer the conversation in a way where Microsoft would actually have an edge, because the CMA is completely closed off. They don't want to discuss any negotiations whatsoever. Microsoft just recently this week tried to resubmit the what they could do to get remedies across the table to get this deal through. And obviously the CMA did not want to answer the phone or even give any rebuttal on these remedies at all. They want to stick to their guns, but it appears that Microsoft is playing their cards quite well. They are creating enough public perception and political pressure that the CMA now is going to actually have to really reconsider their position on this deal. Are they going to, by some chance, if they can get the appeal, if Microsoft can get the appeal through Cat can go through and tell the CMA, hey, we're going to have to open up and be receptive to behavioral remedies. You have no right at all saying that you're closed off to behavioral remedies because they're too tough for you to enforce. That's complete crap. Behavioral remedies are an integral part of antitrust regulation, and just because you feel you can't handle them is not an excuse. Buck up, wear the big boy britches that you want, and understand that behavioral remedies are completely acceptable when it comes to antitrust regulation. That's what they're there for. So to give my final thoughts on this whole situation, long time ago, January 2021, nobody really wanted to listen to me wanting to talk about the politics of this deal. And now it appears that the entire gaming community, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on or what side of the console war battlefield you're on, everybody has grabbed their popcorn and pulled up a chair and has really taken a big, heavy investment interest into watching this unfold. I think it's quite funny. One point in time, nobody wanted to hear the politics. Now they can't get enough of it. If you are enjoying my coverage and listening to me rant and rave about it, go on about it, try to point out what I find, all that good fun stuff, please like and subscribe down below, all that good stuff that YouTube likes to see. As always, please leave me a comment down below whether you like my content or you hate my content. I am always receptive into reading anything that you're going to take out of your time out of your day to go down and write, because that literally means the world to me. You are investing time out of your day to interact with me, and the least I can do is read that interaction. For those that really like my content, please check out the end card here. My latest video, come check out my channel and all the other content I have there. I'm not just over here constantly dipping into the ABK deal. Well, I do cover other topics in gaming. And I also like to close out all the time with all of my videos because I'm actually a big connoisseur of gaming. I love all consoles and everything that the gaming industry has to offer, purely because gaming has helped fill some very dark times in my life. And that is the statement that I always end with, that no matter what, everybody, please remember to always play the games that you love on the platform that you prefer to play them on. I am Centurion 1307, and thank you for watching.